Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. When a woman ignores you, it's not the end of the world. It's a signal, a sign, a message from the universe that you need to change your game, your mindset, and your approach. But before you panic or start chasing, hold on and listen up. Because what you do next can either elevate you or break you. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman ignores you, the first thing you need to understand is this. Being ignored is not a reflection of your worth. Far too often, men let their minds spiral into thinking that because someone doesn't give them attention, they're somehow less valuable, less important, or less deserving of love. Let me tell you right now, that is not true. Your value is not dictated by who pays attention to you or who chooses to notice you at any given moment. Your worth is inherent. It comes from within, from knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. When she ignores you, it's not a message that you are lacking. It's a message that maybe, just maybe, you need to shift your perspective on yourself first. Because here's the thing, respect, attention, and genuine connection don't come to someone who begs for them or chases after them like they're a fleeting prize. They come to those who command them naturally. They come to people who carry themselves with confidence and self-assurance. And the beautiful thing is, confidence isn't about how many likes you get on a social media post or how many times she replies to your text. True confidence is quiet, steady, and grounded. You see, confidence means knowing that you don't need someone else's validation to feel good about yourself. It means waking up every day with a sense of purpose and knowing your own value so deeply that no amount of being ignored can shake it. It means walking into a room and feeling comfortable in your own skin, regardless of who's paying attention and who's not. When you develop that kind of confidence, you stop worrying about being ignored because you're too busy focusing on becoming a better version of yourself. And how do you do that? By investing in you, by working on your mindset, your goals, your health, your skills, your character. When a woman ignores you, it's a perfect opportunity to take a step back and invest in your own growth. Read books that inspire you, pick up new habits that improve your life. Challenge yourself to step outside of your comfort zone, because when you do that, you're not only becoming more attractive, you're becoming unstoppable. At the same time, being ignored forces you to check your ego. Sometimes the reason someone ignores you is because you've been coming on too strong or trying to force a connection that isn't there yet. When you understand this, you begin to appreciate the importance of timing and patience. You learn that the best things in life, whether love, respect, or success, can't be rushed or forced. They come naturally to those who know how to wait and how to respect the pace of others. Remember, being ignored doesn't mean you're invisible or irrelevant. It means you're being given a chance to grow, to build your self-respect, and to remind yourself that your happiness is not dependent on anyone else. This shift in mindset is powerful. It's what separates men who are desperate and needy from men who are desirable and respected. The difference is in how you treat yourself when you're not getting the attention you want. Do you crumble and lose yourself, or do you stand tall and say, I am worthy regardless? It's also about recognizing your own strengths. Maybe you have qualities, loyalty, kindness, ambition, that don't always get noticed immediately, but they are real and they are valuable. When you remind yourself of these strengths, it helps build a foundation of confidence that no ignoring can shake. You start to see that attention is just icing on the cake, not the whole cake. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a lesson that goes beyond relationships. It's a life lesson. Too many people tie their sense of self to external approval. Likes, followers, compliments, or in this case, attention from someone they desire. But that's a shaky foundation. When you ground your self-worth internally, you become untouchable. You become the kind of man who doesn't just survive being ignored, he thrives because he knows who he is. So the next time she ignores you, don't panic. Don't run after her with desperation or plead for her attention. Instead, look in the mirror and say, I am valuable. I am worthy. I am enough. Then put your energy into becoming the man you want to be, the man who doesn't need to be chased because he's already running toward his own greatness. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that's going to save you a lot of energy, pride, and dignity. When she ignores you, the worst thing you can do is get desperate. I know your instinct is to reach out, text her more, call her, double text, triple text, scroll through her social media trying to figure out what went wrong. But that's not how a strong man handles being ignored. Desperation is loud. Confidence is quiet. When someone stops responding or pulls away, your reaction reveals your character more than her silence does. So listen carefully. Don't chase, don't beg, and don't try to force attention. Instead, lean into silence. When a woman ignores you, give her space, but more importantly, give yourself space. It's not just about her and what she's doing. It's about you and how you respond. You've got to understand that your self-worth doesn't shrink just because someone chooses not to reply. That's their choice. You still have choices too. And one of the most powerful things you can do is to choose to not react with desperation. That's the difference between boys and men. A boy panics. A man pauses. A boy texts a paragraph. A man steps back and lets time do its thing. You see, when you respond with desperation, you're basically telling her, my confidence depends on your attention. My value depends on your response. That energy, women can smell it from a mile away. And let me tell you, nothing makes someone lose interest faster than neediness. You become less attractive when you seem like you're chasing validation. That kind of energy is draining and it pushes people further away. But when you show restraint, when you show you can handle the silence without falling apart, that's when you flip the script. That's when she starts to wonder what you're thinking, where your focus is, and why you're not reacting the way most guys would. You don't win people over by flooding them with attention. You win respect by showing discipline. And that's exactly what this is about, discipline. It takes strength to hold back when you want to reach out. It takes maturity to walk away when you don't feel seen. And it takes wisdom to know that silence is not always rejection. Sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's just a sign that she needs space. Or maybe she's testing your emotional control. Whatever the reason, chasing her when she's ignoring you is like trying to hold water with your bare hands. It slips through. But when you back up and focus on yourself, you create a different kind of power, one that makes people curious instead of annoyed. Use that silence as fuel. Take all that energy you're tempted to waste on her and pour it into yourself. Work out, grind harder, focus on your goals, improve your wardrobe, elevate your lifestyle. When she sees you becoming better, moving forward, and not looking pressed for her attention, that's when the narrative changes. That's when you stop being the guy who won't stop texting and become the guy she underestimates. And that change doesn't come from what you say, it comes from how you carry yourself when nobody's watching. You gotta understand something deeper. Silence is powerful, not just hers, but yours too. When you stop talking, stop explaining, stop trying to convince someone of your worth, you give them room to think. You create mystery. You become unpredictable, and nothing attracts curiosity like mystery. Don't be an open book begging to be read. Be the novel that someone regrets putting down. A woman will notice when you don't flinch. When you don't try to prove yourself, she starts to see what you might be missing. But if you panic, chase, or react emotionally, you confirm her decision to pull away. So the next time she goes quiet, don't say a word. Let your actions speak. Let your discipline speak. Let your silence speak. Not out of spite, not out of ego, but out of power. You've got to stand tall. even in the silence, especially in the silence, because how you handle being ignored will determine whether you rise or fall. So be calm, be still, and let your growth do the talking. The right people always come around when they realize they can't shake your peace. When someone ignores you, the first thing that often happens is you start looking outward. You analyze their behavior, their silence, their change in energy. You replay conversations in your head, reread old messages, look for signs you might have missed. You become a detective in your own heartbreak, trying to solve a mystery that doesn't have a clear answer. But what if I told you that instead of looking outward, the real power comes from looking inward? Instead of trying to figure her out, maybe it's time to figure yourself out. Maybe the silence you're hearing is not just her silence. Maybe it's the universe handing you an opportunity for reflection. And that's what this key moment is really about, reflection. When someone pulls away or starts ignoring you, it's a chance for you to stop and ask the hard questions about your own behavior, your own approach, your own energy. Because sometimes the reason you're being ignored isn't because you're unworthy, but because your actions haven't aligned with respect, patience, or emotional intelligence. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about owning your growth. Because the truth is, all of us have blind spots. Sometimes we come on too strong. Sometimes we project our fears onto someone else. Sometimes we rush a connection because we want so badly to be loved, to be accepted, to be chosen. But that rush, that pressure, that's what drives people away. When you reflect, you begin to see things you couldn't see in the moment. Maybe you sent one too many texts. Maybe you expected her to respond on your time, not hers. Maybe your words were right, but your energy was too much. Or maybe you were asking for more than she was ready to give. That doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you human. But reflection is where you learn, it's where you grow, it's where you ask yourself, was I really being myself, or was I trying to perform for her attention? Was I genuine, or was I acting out of fear of losing her? Was I grounded, or was I reacting emotionally? The most powerful men are the ones who take responsibility without drowning in guilt. They don't blame the other person for everything, and they don't crucify themselves for every misstep either. They sit with themselves and say, what can I learn from this? And that's what separates growth from regret. Because regret keeps you stuck in the past, but growth moves you forward. Rose says, yes, maybe I came on too strong, but now I know. Now I can move differently. Now I can lead with strength instead of fear. And when you do that, you become better, not just for her, but for yourself and for everyone you meet going forward. This is why silence is such a gift. It's uncomfortable, yes, it stings, but it slows you down. It forces you to see the parts of yourself you've been ignoring. Maybe you've been neglecting your own needs, your own goals, your own peace. Maybe you've been too focused on making someone else happy, trying to fit into their life instead of building your own. And now that they're ignoring you, you're finally alone with your own reflection. That's where real transformation happens, in the silence, in the stillness, when you can hear your own thoughts clearly without all the noise of trying to impress someone else. Reflection is also where you get honest, and sometimes honesty hurts. Maybe you weren't ready for the kind of relationship you thought you wanted. Maybe you were lonely, not in love. Maybe you were trying to use her attention to fill a void that only self-respect and purpose can truly fill. And that's okay, because now you know. Now you have the chance to make better choices, not just in relationships, but in how you show up in the world. You don't have to beat yourself up. You just have to be real with yourself. Because when you get real with yourself, you stop repeating patterns that keep leading to the same kind of pain. Think about the energy you bring to your interactions. Is it calm, confident, and collected, or is it anxious, reactive, and insecure. When someone ignores you, it often magnifies your emotional habits. If you're used to seeking validation, their silence feels like punishment. But if you're used to self-reflection, their silence becomes a moment to elevate your game, to ask yourself, what kind of man do I want to be when things don't go my way? Do I collapse? Do I beg? Or do I build? The answer to that question is everything. And this isn't just about romantic relationships. This is about how you respond to life when it doesn't give you what you want. Do you panic or do you pivot? Do you lose your identity or do you rediscover it? Every time you ignored, overlooked, or rejected, you have a chance to come back stronger. But that comeback starts with reflection, with honesty, with humility, with sitting down and asking yourself, where was I too much? Where was I not enough? And where do I go from here? The strongest men are not the ones who get it right every time. They're the ones who get it wrong and still keep moving forward with more wisdom than they had before. So take this moment, this silence, this distance, and turn it into something that serves you. Use it to build awareness, not resentment. Use it to grow up, not give up. Because that's the kind of strength that no silence can shake. When someone ignores you, it becomes tempting to start questioning everything about yourself. You wonder if you said the wrong thing, if you weren't interesting enough, attractive enough, smart enough. But here's the truth. Your value is not dependent on anyone's ability to see it. Self-respect means recognizing that your worth is not up for negotiation. It's not something that rises and falls based on whether someone chooses to respond to your messages or make time for you. Your value is steady, and your job is to believe in it, even when no one else acknowledges it. Holding on to your self-respect in a situation where you feel rejected is not easy. It takes emotional maturity. It takes restraint. It takes a solid understanding of who you are and what you stand for. Because it's easy to feel good about yourself when everything is going right, when you're being complimented, chosen, wanted. But your real character shows when you're being overlooked, when someone pulls away, and when you're left in silence. That's when you find out whether your self-respect is real or if it was built on temporary validation. Letting someone ignore you without compromising your self-worth is one of the most powerful things you can learn to do. It doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you weren't emotionally invested. It means you care about yourself enough not to abandon your dignity. It means you refuse to fight for someone's attention like it's oxygen. Because once you start chasing, once you start proving yourself to someone who's not reciprocating, you enter a game where you're always at a disadvantage. You're trying to win someone over by sacrificing pieces of your self-respect. And that's a price no relationship is worth. It's not your job to convince anyone to see your value. That's not confidence. That's desperation dressed up as effort. True confidence means you're okay with walking away if someone doesn't treat you the way you deserve to be treated. You don't raise your voice to be heard. You don't beg to be seen. You simply step back and let people make their choices while you make yours. Because not everyone is meant to be in your life. And the ones who are meant to stay won't have to be chased, reminded, or pressured. There's also strength in choosing to stay calm when you're tempted to react emotionally. That silence you're getting might trigger frustration or even anger. But acting out of those emotions can make you look weak, petty, or immature. When you hold your ground and stay composed, you're telling the world and yourself that your peace is not easily shaken. That's the kind of quiet power that earns respect. Because people notice when you don't react. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. And the people who once ignored you may start to question why you're no longer reaching out. That's when the tables turn. You have to live your life with the mindset that you are already enough. Whether someone sees it or not doesn't change the truth. You are whole, complete, and capable. Your time, your energy, and your presence are valuable, and not everyone deserves access to them. When you operate with that level of self-respect, you stop chasing attention and start attracting it. Because people are drawn to those who don't beg for approval. They're drawn to those who walk with quiet confidence, who know their boundaries and aren't afraid to enforce them. So when you're being ignored, don't take it as a sign to lower your standards or to try harder to please. Take it as a reminder to honor your self-worth even more. Walk away if you have to, not out of pride, but out of respect for yourself. Because at the end of the day, the way you treat yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. And when you carry yourself like someone who knows their value, the world has no choice but to respond accordingly. There's a moment in life where you have to stop waiting on someone else and start building your own world. When you're being ignored, the worst mistake you can make is to sit around waiting for a response, waiting for someone to come back, waiting for a sign that you still matter to them. That waiting will rob you of your time, your focus, and your future. The more time you spend hoping they'll reach out, the less time you spend doing something meaningful for yourself. And the truth is, the best response to being ignored is progress. Real, undeniable, focused progress. You don't need anyone's attention to grow. You don't need a reply to become stronger. What you need is discipline. The kind of discipline that says, even if they're not watching, I'm still going to work on myself. Even if they never say a word again, I'm still going to rise. Because at the end of the day, the people who ignore you today may watch you tomorrow. Not because you chased them, not because you begged, but because you got up and built something they can't ignore anymore. That's what progress does. It turns silence into applause. The time you're tempted to spend scrolling through old messages, checking if they've seen your story, wondering if you crossed their mind, use that time to grind. Use that time to build something. Use that time to become someone. That's how you take your power back. Every moment spent stuck in your emotions is a moment you could have used to better your life. And one day when you look back, you'll be grateful you chose to elevate instead of chase. Progress speaks louder than any text you could send. It speaks louder than any argument, louder than any explanation. You don't have to explain why you stopped reaching out. You don't have to defend your silence. Let your improvement say everything that needs to be said. Let your peace, your growth, your focus, and your achievements become the story they never got to be part of. Because that's the ultimate power move. Not revenge, not games, just becoming too focused on your purpose to be fazed by anyone's absence. Some people won't notice your worth until you stop giving them unlimited access. They won't respect your time until you start investing it somewhere else. And they won't value your presence until they feel your absence. But by the time they realize what they lost, you'll already be too far ahead. Not out of bitterness, but because you made a decision. A decision to no longer sit in the same place emotionally, mentally, or physically. A decision to grow forward. Your healing is your responsibility. Your progress is your responsibility. No one is coming to rescue you from silence. No one is going to hand you peace. You have to create it. You have to wake up every day and say, I'm not waiting for someone to call me to feel important. I'm not waiting for someone to approve me to believe I'm worthy. I'm building no matter who shows up. That's how you separate yourself. That's how you shift from being someone who needs to be chosen to someone who chooses themselves. Keep pushing, even in the quiet. Keep moving, even when no one's clapping. Because the people who ignore you today might just end up watching you from a distance tomorrow. And it won't be because you begged them to. It'll be because you became too solid to be denied. So get focused, get consistent, get locked in. Don't ask why they're not texting you back. Ask yourself what you're building while they're silent. Because every day you stay stuck is a day you could have used to level up. And you didn't come this far just to pause your growth waiting on someone who doesn't see your worth yet. One of the hardest things to do when someone ignores you is to stay composed, to not let your emotions take over, to not let your pride push you into doing something you'll regret later. Because in that silence, your mind plays tricks on you. It tells you to send one more message, to call again, to explain yourself, to try and fix what might not even be broken. But that's exactly where emotional control comes in. Emotional control isn't about pretending you don't feel anything. It's about learning to master how you react to those feelings. Because your reaction can either protect your dignity or destroy it. When you feel disrespected or dismissed, your first instinct might be to lash out, to make your presence known, to remind someone that you deserve attention. But if you let those emotions lead you, you lose control of the image you've worked hard to build. You'll start doing things that don't align with who you really are, just because you're trying to get a reaction. That's how people end up looking needy, angry, or insecure, because they didn't pause. They didn't breathe. They didn't check in with themselves before they acted. That pause is where your power lives. The ability to feel everything but not act on every emotion, that's emotional maturity. No one is immune to rejection. Everyone